Keffals came back to the internet once again to try and stream. He says, "Yo, everyone, check my Wikipedia, which says retired streamer. Not true anymore. I'm back. I miss the community, but I do have some boundaries I'm setting up this time. I am never returning to social media in any form. I am not doing drama content. I am not doing political content. All streams are chill, just chatting and or gaming. I was at my best doing comfort streams. That's what it will be. Also, I told the new mods to not even bother moderating Twitch or YouTube. I am dual streaming, but I'm only reading this one chat." So then he comes back and he decides the best way to open up his new life as a streamer is by giving the audience what they really, really want.
Okay, we're back. All right, we're back in the game.
So if you're only listening, throughout this video repeatedly, Keffals takes a electrical device and delivers an electrical shock to himself, which brings me immense satisfaction. It was only a few years ago that this person was trying to ruin my life and the lives of anyone associated with the Kiwi Farms and was actively trying to bring about a kind of Orwellian censorship that the U.S. has never seen before. And now I sit here and watch Keffals shock himself over and over again with a cattle prod for the viewership of maybe 100 people tops as he begs for donations from his audience on Discord. Praise the Lord, chat. Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. In case people are wondering, that is not legally a stun gun. That is legally a cattle prod. A cattle prod is legally different in Ireland and the UK, and a cattle prod is legal. Now, if he is allowed to shock himself in Ireland like that, I don't know if that's true, but I have no evidence to the contrary. He also decided to drop this lovely bomb on everybody.
By the way, how many people here are aware of I have the most disgusting keyboard on earth? Like, is this common knowledge for the people in chat?
So this fetid gooner shocking himself is so terrible at managing his own hygiene. Even he wants the world to know, by the way, that he lives in filth and squalor in his apartment, and he just wants to tell people that. And then he also wanted to give out, he also decided to announce to his Discord after his little streams, about an hour each, that was too much for him. He says, "I'm fine. I didn't puke. I went from being gone for a year to 4 consecutive streams in a row. I pushed myself too hard and my fibromyalgia flared up. I'm in a lot of pain. I will be fine. I'm taking tomorrow off to recover. I'll be back." Well, there was a part of his stream where he ran off stream and threw up. I assume because of smoked oysters, but he's pretending that's because of his disability, so he can now bilk the English, North Irish taxpayers for their money as well. They also decided to announce this.
So, while I was gone, I started a business, which I'm still going to be chipping away at. And long story short, it required me to learn Linux. I actually am officially I am actually a CEO now. It is no longer just like a meme title. And that feels really weird to say. But I had to learn Linux because the server runs on Linux, and it has no graphical user interface. It's completely done through Linux terminal.
The computers went wrong when you made them for. That's when it went wrong. Okay, that's when it went wrong. It's like how many people? It's like, oh, it's a command line. You man, white people don't mind it. Okay, the white people are like, yeah, it's a command line. So what's your point? They're all like, no, we don't like the command line. Here's the difference in a white person and a. Do you like the command line? Okay, you're you get the f out.
Sorry, Italians, officially not white. So, this little tidbit of information. Actually, I'll let him continue.
What kind of business? So, it's an online marketplace for makers in the BDSM community to sell things like paddles and whips and like spanking benches and St. Andrew's crosses and stuff.
Arcadis kind of people.
But the actual tech was a nightmare. I have a lot of vendors lined up who want to sell on it, but like getting it all together is going to take time.
So, with that tidbit of information dangled out in front of the Kiwi Farms, people took to the internet to try and figure out what the f*** he's talking about and if it's even real, and sure enough it is. The Surrentum Corporation, innovative solutions for underserved markets, from adversity to the stars. It is a global collection of skilled, multidisciplinary professionals joining forces to deliver technology solutions to strong but underserved communities. Founder Clara Sorrenti recognized the majority of e-commerce platforms use increasingly strict product guidelines to squeeze out small merchants. Craftsmen were left behind. And then some weird shit about his Italian last name. And here is the team. We have... here's my favorite thing. So he took the Kiwi Farms Coigglers and he like made it into this weird shit that he just calls the Wigglers. And he made like little fake Coigglers for all the people. And the one person that's not a Coiggler is Arif, who is like a brown Mohammedan living in the UK, who's also the chief financial officer. And Keffals could not convince this black man to allow himself to be denigrated down into a fake Coiggler. And so instead, it is merely his Coiggler molesting his bald head. And that is his icon. So, very fascinating. Supposedly, some of these people are in his polycule as well. I'm not sure. He may actually be getting the BBC at this point in time. We can only imagine, chat. We can only break the rule and imagine that. So that's what Keffals is up to. He is trying his best. Does the parrot have any idea of what's on the computer screen? No. Maybe he has some bird ideas. Maybe that's the best he can do. Speaking of material consequences for bad people, I'm just like, I feel like I'm just stepping on absolutely everybody I hate right now. I just got like a bunch of lined up and I'm going stump, stump, stump. Oh, that guy sucks. Stump, stump, stump. Yeah, you too, buddy. And now I got Keffals. Bam, bam, bam. Time to eat shit. So Keffals has returned to streaming to my delight because now I get to watch him suffer. He announced his stream. And then he did 2 streams. And then it posted this. He says, "No stream today. I need to decompress. I'm going to be a lot more honest with you all going forward about where I'm at, what is happening, and where this community is heading. I just started a new antidepressant 2 days ago, and I'm going to need some time to adjust. I'm currently dusting off OBS, reorganizing the moderator chats in case we ever have to deal with hate raids or harassment again, and making sure both myself and this community stays a safe and positive place to be. I plan to stream at least 5 days a week. 5 days of Keffals content a week. I can't wait. Number 1 Keffals fan here. Eager for the Keffals content, spelled with a K. a lot of chatting, gaming, and reacts when it's stuff that's genuinely fun and not just live coverage of the world burning. We all know how much the world is. We could all do with a break from that. While I was gone, I was working on my mentals. I've been seeing a psychiatrist. I just started therapy with a psychologist. And see, that's like when you don't know the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist, so you just like multi-track drift that shit. Like, yeah, I'll take one of each, I guess. Sure, it's the British taxpayer paying for it, right? Right? Okay, yeah, it is. Okay, great. I'll take one of each. Suffer, England. Pay your taxes so that this Canadian living in Northern Ireland can get a psychiatrist and a psychologist. Suffer. Let's see. In my absence, I went through a diagnostic test for post-traumatic stress disorder. The test was about 90 out of a diagnostic cutoff of 30. I scored an 88. Oh, out of 90 with a cutoff of 30, I scored an 88. So much of my trauma comes from what happened to me in 2022, in 2023. There he was, minding his own business, enjoying fish content on YouTube, when suddenly Stephen Burnell came in with a knife and attempted to murder him. Thankfully, in an act of valiant self-defense, he managed to deplatform Destiny before he could strike that fatal blow into his neck. However, he had an accomplice. The Kiwi Farms rolled up, to which Queen Keffals valiantly poured out a Sturmgewehr and just opened fire in self-defense through a crowd of people. Absolutely necessary to protect his own life. That is the realistic timeline. Unfortunately, the weapon was so loud, and the screams of all those evil people trying to kill him for no reason were just so traumatizing that he now has a 1,000-yard stare, chat. I still have nightmares about it. He just has nightmares about how Stephen Burnell broke into his house. It's time to stream, chat. Scared the out of me. It's my alarm. I told you that's my alarm. You guys don't believe me? Let's see. Okay, so he has nightmares about Steve Burnell, right? And a lot of things that are relatively benign give me flashbacks and send me into panic, feeling like cops are going to arrest me at gunpoint again. Dude, I like to imagine that this guy... What's the name of that big chain that's in Ireland? I've been there. I should remember this. It's not Lidl or Aldi. Grocery... Is it Greg's in Ireland? Super Value. That sounds right. So he goes to the Super Value. Oh, Tesco. That's what I was thinking of. He goes to Tesco and he's shopping around, right, for the fruits and veggies. And he sees a kiwi. The kiwis stand, fresh kiwis from New Zealand. And he's like, ah! Ah! LaGuardia. Sorry, LaGuardia is the regular Ireland, not shitty Ireland. Whatever the equivalent, the constables could be coming. The constables could be here, he thought. Constables could be anywhere. Just the sight of the fruit sends him into hives. He could at any moment. It's tragic, really. Because of that, I am not on social media. I delegated running my socials to someone in the community who will not be named to protect their identity and safety. I told them to forward messages of support to me and respond positively to those who still care about me and want the best for me. I want to say I am not a victim. That is, perhaps, the only true thing that this dude has ever said in his entire life. I'm trying to think, is there anything he has ever said ever at any point that even comes close to the truth? And honestly, I don't think so. He's been wrong about every single issue that he's ever taken a stance on, except that. Many of the problems that happened before I quit were self-inflicted. That is true. When I get triggered, I go into fight or flight. He sees the kiwi and just starts smashing it. Die! Not this time. He's like, he grabs a broom and he's holding it like his Sturmgewehr. He's like, he's like clutching it like it's his gun, like it's his last stand against the kiwi fruits. When I get triggered, I go into fight or flight this, and I don't know what the next part is. blah blah blah. Yeah, this guy clipped this, got to this paragraph, cut it off, and was like, I cannot be bothered to scroll down a little bit and archive the second half of this post because who gives a shit? It's not like this is ever going to be right on a stream or something. Keffals says, so I opened Twitter, saw a tweet with 1 like being mean to me, had a flashback, heart rate spikes to like 150. Love it, sis. If I could have ordained a future for Queen Keffals, I think getting triggered over a tweet that nobody even saw is perhaps exactly what I would have selected for you. And the British taxpayer. My official diagnoses are major depressive disorder, melancholic subtype, and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I am working on both. I will be forthcoming about these issues, which I have always hid out of fear it would be used to attack me. For instance, one of the symptoms of melancholic depression is psychomotor. The return of psychomotor, our favorite Keffalsism. In case you're wondering, in case you were not around for Drop Kiwi Farms. During Drop Kiwi Farms, Keffals would say, like if you ever watch a stream of him, it's literally like this. Hey guys, I just wanted to watch some funny fish videos. Blah blah blah. Sorry you made me take away your primary source of income. Destiny. Like, just like the slowest speech ever, with like infinite, like, dead air. That's like his stream for like 8 hours. He talks like that. And then when people started making fun of him for talking like he's on drugs constantly, he says, actually, I have psychomotor. So now it's like, okay, by your admission, we get to call you you act and you speak. Glad that we had that on record, and now you are officially diagnosed. Which I was ridiculed for, and which Mutahar mocked me on Twitter for. Yeah, because it's funny. Which is why I will never watch his video or pretend he's a good actor trying to expose the truth. I talked about a serious problem I deal with. Depression runs in my family. My grandmother killed herself. My great-grandfather killed himself. My cousins have attempted. If you mock me for talking about this, you. Is that really the appropriate action to take? Like, there are many depressed people in the world who don't get made fun of. The issue is that you go online and you cause problems and then you talk about it and you plead for sympathy. This is the Keffals cycle. He did this continuously after Drop Kiwi Farms. He would act real smug, real tough, go online with people, start problems, act like it's the end of you. And in fact, if you go to his YouTube channel, and you search Keffals for some godforsaken reason, I think you only have to scroll just a little bit to see the Drop Kiwi Farms stuff. Let's see. 2 years ago. Let's see if it's there. Oh god, do you remember the meaty flappers segment? There was a point in time where Keffals was on YouTube, and anytime I saw a video like this with the meaty flappers and the 3 boobs, I would report it for content. And some of those thumbnails actually got him in trouble, and he complained about it on Twitter at some point. God, it was Drop. Oh, there we go. So there we go. Completely deleted. Smug as completely deleted. I think there's a post. There, Rip Bozo laughing emoji, happy face. Website launch, Drop Kiwi Farms. I think there is one where it's literally just my post and the thumbnail is sad null noises. Okay, there's the famous things have escalated post. Did he delete the one where it's just like a Kiwi Farms post and he's like sad null noises? I don't see that one. So he's deleted some of these, I guess, out of embarrassment. Let's watch this one, just to remind myself. Oh, there's Makeda. I think this is it. This is the one. Kiwi Farms is dead. We won. Irish Twitter. It's like this. Let's just go to a random point. I hear them smugly preen about this. This is my post. Yeah. Josh Moon watches his empire crumble. That's the name. Keffals wrote this. Keffals wrote this as a manual chapter title.
Shall we take a look?
Oh, I need to read this. I've saved all of this for the stream. In my life, there's a family emergency. It has absolutely nothing to do with the forum drama. I cannot and will not elaborate further. There will be a week or more where I am completely unavailable, and it is likely the site will go down during this time where I will not be able to bring it up. I want to appraise our situation frankly. Cloudflare was both our—
This was a very difficult time for me, by the way. Drop Kiwi Farms did not just happen at like a really inopportune time. It happened at like the worst possible time, and everything that I was doing for the site, I was also silently dealing with other issues. And I like that you can never talk about because you have the entire world at your throat at that point, right? So it was not just like dealing with an insane level of unprecedented deplatforming that literally nobody has ever dealt with before for a U.S. legal website. It came at like the worst possible time ever for that, and I'm like Keffals expects constantly flip between smugly preening like this to please I have wisdom from my family. Like, you can't do that. You can't, like, strongman me and then also be like, please, you have to take pity on me.
Application level DDoS mitigation and our domain registrar. They have given me a way to transfer my domains to another registrar. I do not know what registrar to send it to because I do not have faith in any company.
Now, the next bit is the really, really funny bit. This is the funniest bit of today.
This is the funniest bit, chat.
The whole fact that Kiwi Farms is gone and dead, completely off the clear net. Just the timing on this is incredible.
Oh, do you want to take it?
DDoS guard will drop us. Oh, sorry. Dropped us while I was writing this post. Dropped us while I was writing this post. This meme about Russia being a free country is a joke. The US is a free country, but with no stewards to protect it. Without the US, there is no second best. I did not expect Cloudflare to crumble so quickly, and I don't have a plan C for DDoS mitigation.
So even if they get the site back up, they have no way to protect against DDoS attacks.
Yeah. It's not going back up on the ClearNet, the normal internet that we know and love.
Oh, by the way, if everyone noticed, there's a null wiggler that someone who was mocking me made and put in my thread. I have added it to the stream. Feel free to use it as much as you want. It's ours now.
You see, if I don't have to look at this stupid wiki high dog ever again, it's going to be too soon.
Oh my god.
By the way, this is from a wiki high.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This person. Oh my god. Please tell me this person has a Twitter account. Hold up 1 second. I have to do something. This is extremely important. Give me a moment, chat. Sorry, this is dead air, but there's personal satisfaction to be gained in some things in life, and then you cannot just let you can't let those things pass when the opportunity presents itself, chat. Suffer bull. Oh, he blocked me. He already had me blocked. You'll never see it. Wait, hold up. There's got to be some way to do this. Okay, it's like 3 sites. Hold up. Oh my god, his website's spewing out PHP. His website's just spewing out HTTP errors. It's like in Japanese or some shit. What the is this? Is this like a... What the... Snail van at snail.gay. How do I... Is there no contact for this? I want to send this person an email. How does this person not have an email address on their own site? So he like streams in this like snail van throughout the UK? Is that like his whole shtick? This person knows that I'm going to send them this dog as soon as I can find a way to do so. Oh my god, there's so much shit. This guy's like obsessed with this cat. Okay. How does he not have an email address? Okay, he has a Dictor, a TikTok, and a Discord. Or does he have like a business email address? Hold up, let's see this. There's like usually a business inquiry. Oh, I have to sign it. Okay, give me a second, chat. Look, this is the most urgent thing that I could possibly be doing right now. I've not watched these videos of these smug in years. I was just reminded, because I want to remind people that he presents himself as the most sympathetic person ever. Like, oh no, I have psycho mode. I'm literally, I'm just, and I'm like sad. And you know, if you're bullying me, I'm gonna commit and blame you for it. And it's like, I want to remind people that at some point in time, when the had the upper hand, they were very, very not gracious about it.
Hello everyone and happy trucking.
Okay, this stream started playing. It literally scared the fuck out of me because I just heard a sudden cat meow sound. That was traumatic. I now score 88 out of 90 on the PTSD score. Dude, YouTube is giving me the most difficult CAPTCHA ever to see this email address, but I am determined. I am going to send a picture of the dog to the Shroon. Oh my god. Dude, what the I have never seen CAPTCHAs so difficult. Can anyone... Look, go to Ellen from now on and tell me what the email address is in chat. Because I've done this CAPTCHA like 4 times, and it's just not letting me do it. Oh, I did it. I finally did it. Okay. When I submit it, I don't get the email address. Can anyone give me this email address? Like, it's just not letting me do it. I've reached today's access limit. It's not showing me. Oh, is that it? Okay, thank you. Who is this hero? Thank you, Miu135. You are my personal champion at this point in time. Okay. So from Josh. .co.uk, of course, you know. And then I'm going to attach a picture of my dog. Let's see, storage, pictures. There we go. Inline, of course. I don't want it to be attached. And then I'm going to send this with no subject. And I think that should do it. Chat. Okay, great. What a fun adventure that was. What a blast from the past. Thank you, Queen Keffals. Let's see. Muda says she has an excuse for she. Thank you, Pudahar. Just why are you coping about this still? Why are you in your Discord surrounded by maybe 20 people tops talking about how you got made fun of because you called yourself a in the middle of like international internet drama, and like you're like, it's been 3 years. Why haven't you gotten over this? Why are you how have you been traumatized by Pudahar calling you a I don't understand. Sorry, I just got mad. It happened to me too once. This isn't a joke. This is my life. These things are not mutually exclusive these days. This is what I have to deal with. You cowards don't even smoke crack. What's up with that? As someone who has smoked crack, I agree, but I only smoked crack once because I lost my crack rock. Hank, my Roomba ate it. This isn't even a joke. Boss Man Jack is even in the art of smoking crackarooski crack rocks. You're not even good at that. Even at smoking crack, Keffals sucks. I have heard of Boss Man Jack losing weed nuggies in his carpet, but he has never lost a crack rock in his carpet yet. So even when it comes to smoking crack, he is subpar and insufficient. Awesome. We watched that. Oh, there's the screenshot of that. Sad null noises. Yeah, very sad. It was a hard time. Okay, there's a little bit more Queen Keffals, I think. Let's see. I have to do this at 2x speed, otherwise. You might get to hear the psychomotor.
Hindsight is 2020. I said this in the Discord, and I'll say it here, and I'm not on socials, right?
Put the zone in the half.
Because I'm not going to be making a lot of statements, right? My socials are mostly go live announcements. I cannot talk about what happened.
Is this Animal Crossing?
In 2022, without risking having flashbacks. Like, I can't talk about that.
I think when Keffals has a PTSD, I think one of the symptoms of his PTSD, besides his, is compulsive overeating. I'm not sure, Chad. What do you think about that? I'm not a doctor.
And I don't like. I'm trying to be very careful, even like addressing this.
Why? What are you afraid
Because,
of?
like, I don't want to have to like end the stream.
Mm.
It's very raw.
Dude, the guy that made this Animal Crossing fishing game does not know what the like you in Unity. You can drop in shaders that create outlines, and you can create outlines around characters so that when a brown fur character walks on a bridge, it does not consume their entire soul and entity completely. Like you can literally just download these shaders and drop them into the game engine, and it will automatically make your game look better. You can just do that for free.
I still have nightmares about everything. It's very hard. It's why I have to see a psychologist every week. Like I'm very
India simulation.
yeah. Chat's like it's just like
This is 1.5, by the way.
I want to start a new chapter, and I want to move forward.
But
So I don't want to.
I thought that you were happy offline. I remember reading these posts a long time ago about how happy Keffals is, and now that he's like completely offline, and suddenly he's back to streaming, and just wants everyone to forget that he attempted to infringe my constitutional right to freedom of speech, and tried to create an unprecedented deplatforming campaign that almost broke the entire internet. Like, I thought you were happy offline. I think that's easier than hoping people will forget all the evil shit you've done.
I don't want to be stuck continuously addressing one of the most traumatic periods in my life.
I want to say this also. Keffals' father, when he was quite young, relatively, he just went off on a tangent about how his great-grandfather, how his grandmother committed, how his cousins have attempted or committed. And yet, when he ranks the trauma that he's suffered, dealing with the consequences of his own actions is at the top of that. Like, really, out of all the shit you've dealt with that you purport has caused you PTSD and that people should take note of before they talk about you, like, that is what ranks the list?
When I was in rehab, I wrote 90 pages of a rough draft of a book, and I plan to eventually find...
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I promise you, chat. I promise you, I will buy that book hardcover. I will put that on my shelf. I will read it. You subscribe to the Locals right now. Don't miss. That's mati.live.locals.com, or if you're on Rumble, just click the join button. Subscribe today. Do not miss my review of the Keffals memoirs of Keffals' equivalent of Mein Kampf. We're reading that shit together, chat. It's gonna be a blast.
And put out a book about everything that happened. Because I think one thing is that there was so much that happened that people called me a liar, saying I constantly contradicted myself, but it's so much happened in such a short time, and it was very traumatic and very hard to deal with.
But why?
I'm struggling to even like get the words out.
But why? I dealt with it. I dealt with far worse. Where's... It's like being me and listening to this is like such a insurmountable, like, mental mountain to climb. Like, where the do you even have the audacity to act like this? When you did nothing that was not in your own control. You suffered nothing that wasn't in your own control. I just don't understand. I was arrested under a false police report before. Someone literally used my name to send in a shooting threat to my high school that resulted in me being put in the back of a police car, and I was interrogated over the origin of the emails. And then I had to provide an alibi. I had, like, they searched for guns and shit, and it's like, I don't even consider this in the top 10 things list of things that I like are traumatizing to me. I just dealt with it. I know it was a false police report. I just dealt with it. I got my attorney. I told my attorney I didn't do anything wrong, They asked for some information. I gave them the information. I said, sorry, all the IPs from this email are on Tor. There's nothing I can give you. And they were like, well, that sucks. And then guess what? It happened again. It happened again, almost the exact same way. And nothing happened. The news didn't report on it. The school did not cancel that day. I did not get apprehended again. They did another door knock, and I gave them the same information. I said, sorry, it's Tor again. But because they ignored it, and I ignored it, I never talked about this within like 5 years of it happening, it stopped. That's how you deal with it. It's not hard. It's just incredible. It's just like, it's like completely mind-boggling to me that he has so much room for self-pity. And he's going to act like this is like the worst thing that anybody's ever had to deal with. And it's like, you did worse to people. You did worse. Compared to what it was like in during Drop Kiwi Farms, where I was literally just plugging in new service providers like as fast as they were burning out. And I was doing this until early morning hours, trying to figure out how to optimize services to handle more DDoS attack bandwidth and stuff, and to spit out requests, having to write up Kiwi Flare on my own, like having to study how that works, learn completely new types of languages in order to accommodate my own DDoS mitigation stuff. Like that was hundreds of hours of my life that I spent doing that I'll never get back, that I could have spent doing anything else. I could have spent improving my podcast, improving my site. Who knows how big the Kiwi Farms would have been if I didn't have a year of downtime. Thankfully, my users are sticky enough that even when we were on tour, there was still 800 people on the site. 800 people at any given time were willing to download a special browser and connect to a website URL they can't even spell out to continue posting on the Kiwi Farms. And if I didn't have a community that was that sticky, I would have been completely... My fate at that point in time was completely out of my hands. And to make things worse is that you know that if the site had gone down and the community had been scattered to the winds, I would have no legal means to protect myself. If I got sued by Keffals, I could always crowdfund off of that and defend myself because I've done nothing wrong. But if I lost the site and I lost the community attached to it, I would be completely defenseless against vexatious litigation. So it was literally like do or die for me for months and months. And it really hasn't even stopped because Liz Fong Jones was emboldened by this, and Liz Fong Jones is still going. And it's the same situation. If I lost the site now, Liz Fong Jones would sue me, and I wouldn't have the ability or the reach to do anything to protect myself. And it's just like, but you dealt with some calling you a because you called yourself a. And that's the most traumatic thing you've ever dealt with, and you can't even summon the words in your head, which is a very, very funny thing to get stuck on when you're trying to say that. You can't even collect your thoughts and say what happened because you're so traumatized by it. It's just unbelievable. It's genuine. Like I can't even believe it. I've never seen this before. For 10 years, for someone so horrible to other people, turn around 180 and then try to curl up in a ball like this and say that everyone has been so mean to you. I've never seen that, ever. I've never seen a heel turn like this ever before.
But basically what I'm just trying to say is that, like, I would like to move on from the past. I want to focus on having a good time with the community. I want to build bridges, not burn them. I don't want to fight people. I want to heal from everything that happened. I want to come out better on the other side of all of it. No, like an autobiography of the events that happened. Like, there was a bunch of crazy shit that happened that I couldn't talk about. Like, I hired Chelsea Manning's cybersecurity firm, and she was literally on my couch the day the Queen died. Like, that sounds made up. I had to get her permission to even say, hey, I can mention you in this book, right? Because this sounds made up as...
That's insane. It's a little insane. You know what cybersecurity firm I hired? None. I just got hacked. You know why? Because I don't have any money. I don't have any money. So when I got hacked, you know what I did? I dealt with it myself, as I dealt with everything else. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird to handle things by yourself, chat? Okay, one more thing.
You know,
You know.
oh,
You know. Ow.
you know, it's whatever. Oh yeah, also with the Discord changes, I changed it to discord.gg/Keffals and I just changed it to Wigglercord. Catboy Ranch was funny, but it's a harassment vector because there are so many videos that call it like a server. So I feel like with a new
Because it was a Discord where you tried to get young people to identify as trans, and then you would send them drugs and shit. You would teach them how to buy Bitcoin without their parents' permission, and then you would help them buy HRT without their parents' knowledge. That's generally considered morally reprehensible by ordinary society. You know, in your bubble, that's like normal and cool, and pink pilling is cool and shit. But normal people, I think if you ask somebody, hey, what would you do if someone on Discord convinced your 13-year-old son to buy cryptocurrency without your permission so that he could purchase online from Brazil in his bathtub HRT contaminated by human or cat hair so they could inject that into the carotid artery to impact their puberty and become effeminate? What do you think should happen to that person that did that to your son? I think you would get what's called a draconian or Byzantine response to this, which is that you should be drawn and quartered. Or I think that's the ordinary. I think that's most people's reaction to that. So I guess he hasn't internalized that either. That with people's kids is a bad thing. He's learned nothing. Effectively, he's learned nothing. Look, oh my God, there's Tipster in the chat. Hello, friend. You are making us all yawn. Wiggler. Oh my God, there's Tipster. Just the tip, chat.
To this community, we should make that change. You know? It makes the mod's life like 10 times harder just having that name. The joke ran its course. It's just over. It's done. It's over.
Fascinating. Glad to see we're on the right path. Queen Keffals has been streaming again, and this time we have some very interesting angles of Queen Keffals. Let's see, this is Queen Keffals from the side. Appears to be investigating an electrical outlet plug. Interesting. Queen Keffals turned around. We got a nice little shape right here. You got the back shape and then the head and the neck. Very interesting shape, silhouette. He stood up, and now this user, I gotta reprimand this user really hard. So this guy, he posted this picture of this groiper, and he's trying to make a comparison between this the groiper and Queen Keffals, but I think that's completely wrong. That's completely inappropriate. I feel like actually his body shape is much closer to this. Oh, this is just the original. There we go. Yeah, that's perfect, dude. I nailed that. This is what we're looking. We're not looking at a groiper. That's stupid. We're looking at a big chungus, chat. It's a big chungus. I can identify the big chungus phenotype. Okay. Keffals also. I don't know what's in. I don't know why I even queue this up. We're gonna see. Maybe it's interesting. I always like some Queen Keffals suffering, and then I have a special video to go through.
I came streaming so I could afford to be in therapy because I just talked to my lawyer again. The lawyer who took me on for my case against the London police. Right before I left Ireland, he said that the case is going to be starting next year. Finally, after like years of waiting. And I don't even want an apology anymore. Like, I don't give a shit what they say. None of this is based in morality or virtues anymore. I just want them to pay my medical bills. That's all I want. That's all I care about. Pay my medical bills. Because they f***ed up my life and made me have to go through extensive therapy. And I came back to streaming to pay for therapy because it's expensive.
Well, they Up your life, huh?
So I appreciate the support with that.
They f***ed it up, all right? Just them. Nobody else. Nobody else contributed to your own psychological torment and downfall. No substances either. That's going to be, dude, I know the London police are never going to do anything like that, but it would be so awesome if they were like, you have to show that the medical expenses that you've incurred are the result of PTSD and not because you became chronically addicted to every drug that ever existed for months. You know what I mean? He'll probably get what he wants. London, Canadian taxpayer, this is where your money's going. You got to pay up. Queen Keffals doesn't even want to apologize. He wants the money. And one other funny thing. This is kind of related to the Canadian election happened, and it was a little bit more interesting than I had expected because it was basically a toss-up between the Conservatives and the Liberal Party, and it was very close, and at times it was like a mere seat apart, and it was very, very close. But in particular, the big news that kind of really shook people was that the new Democratic Party, which was ultra far left, lost almost all of their seats. They're now in single digits again, and I think they've had more than 40 seats before in the past. There is a very famous Canadian politician that everybody likes to make fun of called Jagmeet Singh, and yes, that is his name. I'm not being racist. Jagmeet lost, and he literally broke down in tears on stage. He was the leader of the NDP, and he lost his seat, which means that he will no longer be the leader of the NDP. He resigned. However, our boy Jagmeet is of interest to me in particular, not just because not just because he lost in a humiliating, spectacular fashion. Jagmeet personally came out and said this: trans folk and especially trans activists deserve the freedom to make themselves heard, not to be doxxed or swatted, arrested at gunpoint, and dead-named repeatedly. Nobody deserves this. Support trans activists. Support Keffals. This guy came out in support of Queen Keffals and denounced the Kiwi Farms and said that we were a heckin' dox or swatter, which is not true. And now he's lost his chair and has cried on national television, Chad. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't that fascinating? I think it's fascinating, Chad. I put it on the stream because I think that's fascinating, Chad. Next. Queen Keffals, I was aware of this prior to this being published because Queen Keffals magnanimously announced to the world that despite wanting a zero drama lifestyle and no drama streaming whatsoever, that he would be contributing to an expose video on Brianna Wu. So no heckin' drama, no more heckin' drama for Queen Keffals. Straight and narrow, just doing wholesome fishing streams, fishy glub streams moving forward. No drama. But I'm also going to take a little detour to do a drama video on Brianna Wu. And this video is a 2-hour-long drama video on Brianna Wu. It's no different than any other locale video that's ever been made, ever. The only difference is it's made by a and is virtue signaling out the ass. But when it comes down to the content, it does not hold back whatsoever. Basically goes through everything from in Brianna Wu's life, from lying about being a woman to being an autogenophile in college to being a nuisance in college. There's one thing in particular I have never seen before, and I know that Brianna Wu is irrelevant now, but when the Kiwi Farms was very small, one of the most prominent members on the forum, Zedkiss, was obsessed with Brianna Wu. He was very, 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 very good at using the phone book, and it was like his white whale to find undeniable, irrefutable evidence that Brianna Wu was transgender. Even though everyone knew it, he wanted the undeniable link between John Walker Flint and Brianna Wu, to the point where he narrowed down what courthouses the name change could have taken in rural Kentucky at a time where they did not have internet access. So he literally sent a Kentuckian out to dig through boxes of archives in several different rural courthouses in Kentucky, and we couldn't find this document. We really, really, really went all out to try, he in particular went all out to try and prove before Brianna Wu came out years later. And Unfortunately for him, he never found it, and then he spurged out and got banned. Long story short. Also, at the time, we ran a wiki that was short-lived. It was basically only edited by a guy called Jamas. And Jamas was like super big into Gamergate. He was like our Gamergate ambassador back in the day when it was like a big active thing, and I was active in HN. He basically wrote the locale wiki himself. So as a result, it was like 90% dedicated to Gamergate and the people involved in Gamergate, in particular, Brianna Wu. If you look at the archives for locale.wiki, you will find some of the most comprehensive articles ever written on Brianna Wu. So even though Brianna Wu is a nobody and has always been a nobody, he was a big point of interest during Gamergate, especially to people very obsessed with the truth. The people who like to go, well, that's not factual, is it? Those kinds of people, they really, really wanted to epically own Brianna Wu. And now all those chickens have come home to roost because Brianna Wu has pissed off the left, and his former friends are very eager to take shots at him. So this goes over the entire timeline of Brianna Wu from the, as I mentioned, the earliest years where he's just an AGP in college and chimping out in the offices of comic authors. A lot of this shit, I'm telling you, is sourced from the forum or from the locale wiki. He doesn't say that, of course, but he does kind of bitch and moan about something, and that's kind of funny. Now, this is definitely the video that Keffals was talking about, but he's not in it. And I am pretty convinced that at some point he realized that he was setting himself up for failure by getting involved in drama again. There are two anonymous authors in this. One is Anonymous A and the other is Anonymous B. And I think Anonymous B is the one who worked at the Progress Pack with Chank Yogurt and also worked with Brianna Wu directly. And I am convinced that is Keffals. And at some point, probably after I made fun of him, he decided that he would not put his name on his contributions to this. So he backed out. However, I sat through, I watched at 2x speed, an entire documentary about Brianna Wu. And just so that my time was not completely wasted, we'll go over this together. I took out a mercifully few timestamps from this. And we will partake. Let's see. Okay. 4:30. So this is kind of like the thesis of the video, basically.
She placates these figures by essentially saying they're right that some trans people are evil and are kids, but not all trans people, not the transes like Brianna. And as I'll show, this is just the latest in a long line of what sure look like shifting grifts for Brianna Wu. During her time in the spotlight, she has had many titles from congressional...
Okay. If you're in chat, you're just going to have to get this out of the way right now. Go to your keyboard and press Shift, period, and then the letters S-E-H while holding down the Shift key. Then let go of the Shift key and press Enter. You may do this as many times as you please. Let's just get her done. Get her done right now.
Candidate to game developer to artist, question mark citation needed, and at every step of her journey, she has managed to claw her way to slightly more relevancy, leaving a long list of enemies in her wake. I'm not going to sugarcoat my words. I want to be as clear as possible why I took on this project. If there's a thesis to this video, it's this. From everything I've found, from all the information available to me, and that I've heard from firsthand sources, Brianna Wu is a volatile liar and a fraud, and should have no future in any kind of political analysis or creative endeavor, let alone representing any group of people.
So let's just take a moment. I know you got jump scared by this. Let's take a moment to appreciate how much the caricature from Shrek 2 is like. This guy is like dead ringer. He just needs brown hair. Let's take a look at what's going on in the background now. We got some man-child shit. We appear to have some Satan shit. We have some anime shit, of course. A lot of anime shit, actually. Some video game shit. And then I don't know what the that anime thing is on the microphone, but to me that's very suspicious, chat. It's not to mention that he is a hulking she-beast is the word I'm looking for. Okay.
Because there are so many concurrent themes running in her story, this video will kind of be all over the place by necessity. There's no way to talk about the totality of Brianna's various controversies without jumping between them to show the decades-long patterns of her behavior, but I promise, it's all leading to the overall point: Brianna Wu should never be taken seriously by anyone. I haven't just trawled through old forums and found some dirt. I've spoken with several anonymous sources that knew her, interacted with her directly, and even worked with or under her. None of them had very nice things to say, by the way. In fact, most people I've talked to who worked with Brianna don't seem to. Brianna Wu is not a genuine
Keffals,
person.
Queen Keffals, I'm a little bit disappointed in you. After trying to epically own us and take us down forever, it appears even your closest friends who you work with on expose videos have to resort to using forums to find out their hot goss on Brianna Wu from, gosh, about 10 plus years ago. There's not a lot of forums out there that have been around for more than 10 years that have tons of information on Brianna Wu. Isn't that a little bit hypocritical of you, Queen Keffals, to be dabbling in some forums? Interesting. I guess when it's politically expedient to your ends, I guess certain things are permitted. This is Wu's art style, by the way.
And yes, of course, we have to talk about the MLK Terminator with the KKK Ninja Girls.
Okay, so I had never seen this before. If I have, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think Zed showed it to me at some point, and I didn't really appreciate how funny it was until years later. It has been so long since I've seen this that it really came as a surprise.
There's just no other way to describe it. This piece was apparently the cover for Crossed Genres and was accompanied by this blurb from her husband Frank Wu in 2009. Quote, Brianna went to University of Mississippi, where a famous race riot took place. Thus, the building is the Lyceum, where you can still see the bullet holes in the columns. As one of the lone liberals on campus, Bree wanted to do her own commentary on it. So, we see Martin Luther King with a rocket, but it's okay because he's a Terminator. And we also see KKK members, but they're all ninja girls in skimpy white outfits. And now that MLK is free at last from his fleshy shell, he's going to kick their butts. 60s girls in go-go boots and jetpacks fight alongside. Remember when I said she lacked political instincts?
Okay, so if you've never seen Brianna Wu's art, this is very, very typical. It's not very good. And what Brianna Wu considers to be a woman is a woman that would be a main character in a Korean video game, and also with the most unrealistic Barbie doll proportions ever. It's kind of hard to overstate how this cannot exist. Someone like this would not be able to walk. These proportions are unrealistic, but this is what Brianna Wu has always drawn. The characters that are present in his college artwork all the way through Revolution 60 is the same kind of very spindly, anorexic, scantily clad woman, which I assume is what Brianna Wu considers to be what a woman is.
Mostly conservative. She now argues against trans people, quote, invading women's spaces, and argues in favor of essentially seeing trans women as fetishistic men, promoting no shortage of ideas that provably put queer people and trans people in danger. And she does all of this unironically, despite the fact that, as you can see here, she spent several years, over a decade in fact, depicting herself as a biological woman.
Okay, so it's okay if you do it ironically, though. I do it everything that I do, irony, sarcasm. It's a parody, chat. Okay, this is an important piece to the Brianna Wu lore, though.
And using that pretense to position herself as a voice on women's issues.
I think I pass reasonably well, but when I go to the gym, I shower at home just because if someone can tell I'm trans, I don't want to upset them. I think women deserve the right to say, no, we don't feel comfortable with you in our space. So I would say to my sisters out there, I understand that it can be dehumanizing the way that we're treated sometimes. The way that TERFs talk to us is it's brutal. It is cruel. It is so mean. But we will get so much further with getting goodwill from the public, with humility and grace and trying to get people to buy in and for them to see our humanity than we will by forcing them.
In pieces like this and myriad Gamergate interviews and articles she would write, she never discussed her status as a trans woman, only depicting herself as someone who's always been a biological woman. Could this be because at each point in time, depicting herself a certain way was, at least in her mind, guaranteed to get her maybe a little bit more attention? For example, depicting herself as a cis woman during the perils of Gamergate, and now coming forward as a trans woman to lend credibility to her political arguments against other trans people.
What's funny is that every single thing this dude's saying is exactly what people said during Gamergate, and he has to continue to call Gamergate this unhinged, certified, verifiable white supremacist anti-feminist movement that was just there because people really hate black people and women in video games. It most certainly was not. I was there. However, what's really funny is that Brianna Wu is coming across completely reasonable, and even if you don't want around at all, which is an understandable position to take that I may be empathetic with, or sympathetic with, because I think the word empathy has been abused to the point where people forget what it means. The main fact is completely accurate, that if we're less unhinged and more reasonable and more willing to accommodate women, you know, like real women that people care about, then they probably wouldn't be getting their shit kicked in so hard. But the problem is that this video was very amusing to me, and only me, so I apologize if you're not too into it, but this is very fascinating to me due to my history and the long history on the internet, because it is effectively a video where both parties are able to land critical hits, like what Brianna Wu says, even if it's not made in earnest, is completely true. And then everything that the says in response to Brianna Wu to try and show, like, look, he's saying these things to get clout, but you know that he's a complete hypocrite liar, because for his entire life he's been a complete hypocrite liar. So he's just lying out his ass to get brownie points with Tim Pool. You're like, wow, you're right also. So it's like both sides, they're scoring critical hits on each other left and right, and it's just like two glass cannons firing away. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And it's awesome in like a very Kino way. It's been a buildup of 10 plus years of watching Brianna Wu be Brianna Wu, completely unaccountable to anybody whatsoever. And now I'm watching this, I'm like, God, that's awesome. So I'm enjoying it, and I like to share the things that I enjoy with my chat. Too fitty foe. I don't have a note for this.
Also notable for Brianna pre-Gamergate was her time spent on Susan's Place, where she was a moderator. I had no idea what this place even was before sifting through Brianna's past, but apparently it was a notorious forum that caters primarily to an incredibly outdated view of trans people, in particular medicalizing transness and trans identities as a disorder.
So that is the main crux, that no people who want to identify as trans should have no limits whatsoever placed on that identification. They don't have to try to pass, they don't have to get surgery, they don't have to take hormones. If they want hormones, they should be allowed to get them without any questions asked. And that's outdated, and that's precisely why trans are losing everything everywhere. I just thought I'd include that. Okay, skip ahead all the way to 45, 43. If I don't say it out loud, I will forget it, as I am brain damaged.
Yet, as a woman in the game industry, she took it upon herself to taunt and mock the Gamergate dorks she saw as basement-dwelling losers. In fact, she spent a lot of time and effort trying to goad people into engaging with her online. I don't want to make it sound like she didn't get any harassment, by the way, but there is overwhelming evidence that Brianna continually went out of her way to poke and prod the Gamergate forums, which you can see in these tweets from October 10th, 2014. You can see from these tweets she starts the mocking around 10:30 a.m., and by 4:30 p.m., she announces the same day that 8chan has doxed her, and proceeds to talk about fleeing her home with her husband for fear of violence.
Sorry, it's dox. You gotta say it really whiny.
Particularly pointing to threats not from 8chan, but from a Twitter account, Chatter White Man. 3 days later, Brianna had an interview on the front page of Cosmopolitan. Soon enough, the list of her interviews would encompass the Boston Globe, Verge, Polygon, Huffington Post, VentureBeat, Daily Mail, BuzzFeed, Six Axis, and like a dozen others, all focused on the narrative that this Gamergate harassment campaign had driven a game developer from her home. Now, this is anecdotal, but I spent hours Googling, gathering, and searching for interviews done by Anita, Brianna, and Zoe during this time. When it was active in 2014 and the year or so following, with rare exceptions like an appearance on a talk show from Anita, almost all of Quinn and Sarkeesian's interviews came years after the harassment campaigns that were threatening them and their families' lives. Brianna wasn't like that. For as much hate as they received and were targeted for, they very obviously wanted to try and continue living their lives, and were hesitant to be cast as some kind of ideological leaders on the front lines
these
of
guys might
Gamergate,
be gay?
despite not being given much of a choice. Compare, for example, Anita being quoted as saying it's frustrating to be known as a survivor of Gamergate, and then Brianna continuing to wear it as a badge of honor, to this day proudly touting her facing down the internet hordes as an achievement.
I'm a former game developer, and I think most people know me from Gamergate. You know, I remember during Gamergate, you know, there was this expansionist thing that it wasn't enough to talk about the number of women we were hiring in the game industry. You know, now we had to obliterate whiteness as something that we were featuring in games. And I'm like, it's a little bit extreme, but we'll go along with it. So it was just one more step after another.
I'm not saying Brianna was never harassed or sent death threats, but the speed with which she not only entered the conversation, but went from nobody knowing her name to apparently needing to flee her house for fear of her life, all the while she continued speaking up, is so wildly at odds with what you see from Zoe and Anita. That's just a fact. You can take it however you want. Oh, and let's not forget the fact that she talks shit about them later in some DM.
So I played that entire bit just to show you that Gamergate was right. Literally, everybody said when this was happening, like, this person, nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows what they do. We've not even had a thread on them. I think when Brianna Wu was first starting to talk about getting doxxed and getting, like, he was already getting interviews with publications about being doxxed. And we had the capacity on 8chan to look at the archive of threads and make the determination that nobody, literally nobody on 8chan had talked about Brianna Wu before he was getting interviews. And everybody just didn't care. They just wanted to run with this narrative. And he even says that. They wanted to run with the narrative of women in games being chased out. So they just ignored the fact that it was false. And that was Gamergate. That was the entire, like, crux of it. All these articles saying something that was not true, that undermined people. This is, dude, I can't stress enough. During Gamergate, all those young people who were active on Chan boards were completely unawake. They were asleep at the wheel, coasting through life, and they had no reason to doubt the meta-narratives of the world around them. And journalism was still essentially trusted by most people. And then all of these articles came together and colluded and lied just so blatantly in a way that could easily be refuted by experience and by looking at the primary source. And they lied in a way that propagated to Wikipedia and became the cemented facts about Gamergate. And you saw it in real time, this, like, web of nepotism, like, binding around you and trying to destroy something that and make it something that it wasn't. And you were just like, how is this real? And of course, it leads to this realization that if they're willing to lie about something as petty and stupid and inconsequential as video game journalism, what else are they lying about? Well, so if you want to know why a bunch of people my age and younger are completely unhinged and hate the media and hate the establishment, it is literally because a bunch of on the internet decided to lie about their video game movement 10 years ago. That's what happened. I appreciate he doesn't try to do a woman voice at all, and it's just like a gay guy, because that's way easier to tolerate listening to.
Because she made...
By the way, I have no idea what this says. I think that he's wearing a see-through, skin-tight, flesh-colored shirt, and then he has like a tattoo that's down there. I don't know what that says.
At a TV dinner once and didn't burn the brownie. She likes to, let's say, stretch the truth, if that wasn't obvious by now. For example, like how she would depict threats against her life, even when the same threats had long been revealed to be jokes. After an obvious online troll,
this is an awesome point.
Several tirades trying to challenge Brianna to a street race, Brianna continued to claim he was threatening her life. It would later be revealed that Jace was merely a troll character being played by comedian Jan Rankowski as an elaborate absurdist bit. I'm not saying it's a good bit. This all seems very stupid. But that doesn't change it being intended as a joke. And more importantly, that Brianna wasn't actually in real danger, and she knew this. Despite this revelation, Brianna would continue to hold up this joke as a legitimate threat on her life, even announcing she had contacted the FBI over it. She also appeared on the Sci-Fi Channel in an interview for the program The Internet Ruined My Life, where she cried over these very same jokers and how they'd been trying to kill her. The episode aired in 2016, well after the hoax had been exposed, by the way.
We spent about a week and a half out of our house. And at a certain point, you can't live out of a hotel forever.
Interestingly, this segment is actually directly at odds with a 2015 Inc. interview, which states that she spent the better part of a month, not just a week and a half on the run. Just one of the many ways her story kind of just changes over time when it comes to fleeing her house.
This man himself sent me a very specific, terrifying video.
This is my car, and now the piece of shit is crashed.
Where he claimed he had crashed his car on the way to my house. It is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. Where he swears he's going to deliver justice to me in his own hands. It made me feel so helpless.
So, being as charitable as I can be, I'm willing to extend the graceful idea that Brianna might have misspoken or been rattled by the harassment and doxing. People get details mixed up, it happens. But as the inconsistencies between Brianna's stories and other evidence mounts, it gets a lot harder to be so charitable. And it's truly regrettable that nobody was willing or likely able to question her stories for fear of being aligned with a verifiable hate movement of antisocial weirdos like Gamergate.
If only there was somebody out there trying to hold Brianna Wu accountable and actively debunking every single bullshit thing he said over years, one after the other. If only somebody out there was doing that. Oh no, except Gamergate, fuck them. And fuck forums. Whatever they may be. Fuck those guys. By the way, the FBI call thing was real. Brianna Wu did call the FBI on Jace, and Jace was interviewed by the FBI, and then after that, he kind of dropped it because he pissed off the feds by making his silly video. So that part should have asked the forum guy instead of Queen Keffals, because I know a little bit more about the B Wu than Queen Keffals might. The FBI call was definitely real. There was probably a very real period where Brianna Wu thought this guy was legitimate, as did everybody else. And by the way, I've told this before, but that car accident was real. He was driving in the snow. He went off the street. And then his first instinct as a dedicated Sam Hydian comedian was to pull out his phone and make an in-character video to capitalize on how he was street racing Brianna Wu to the grave. Truly dedicated. The sad part of that is when Jan was a child, he had chronic seizures. And he hit his head in the playground. And that cured his seizures. This is his story, by the way, but I really believe it. And then throughout his entire life, he had no more seizures until that car accident where he was in debilitating, or having debilitating seizures, chronic seizures, one after the other. So a very, very tragic video. One of the most important videos in the Kiwi Farms history. It was so critical to so many different thread points that I actively cared about at that time. Okay, this part continues a little bit longer.
Because Brianna Wu's long history of having a persecution complex, which, again, we've seen in her college days and forums, truly came to the forefront in these months. The result is that now most of the journalism, using the term very loosely here, is from outlets like Breitbart. But they are reporting on verifiable sources, so I have to rely on them for this nightmare. Meanwhile, many more progressive-leaning outfits were outright just okay having Brianna Wu just completely structure and create her own narratives with very little oversight, giving full control to her to ostensibly weave whatever narrative she wanted to, and being that a lot of coverage of Gamergate wasn't from people actually inside the game industry, but mainstream publications looking to cover the sensationalism behind stories like women game devs forced to leave their house. There wasn't a lot of oversight or curtailing for Brianna's narratives.
God, it really sounds like there's an ethical issue at the heart of all these video game journalist outlets. Isn't that strange? That there's this ethical issue in video game journalism? Somebody should do something about that. That sounds like a problem. You got these people just lying and nobody's holding them accountable. Oh dear. Okay, I don't have an endpoint for this one, so I'll let it play out as long. There's something that he says here, I think. 49.
Outlets when that game came out. Again, in sharp contrast to Zoe and Anita, Brianna continued to insert herself into all kinds of online drama, drumming up conflict with Total Biscuit, causing a row over an article about how Samus from the Metroid series is actually trans, and plenty of other small one-off online scuffles that I don't really care about reiterating when the point is she very obviously just relished the spotlight. And with that spotlight, especially after fleeing her home, she soon garnered the scrutiny of online communities like Kiwi Farms.
By the way, does not elaborate whatsoever. I think that he intended to say a little bit more about Kiwi Farms, but at this point, it just drops suddenly, and then it's never brought up again. So I feel like during the talk with Queen Keffals says you have to not bring up Kiwi Farms at all in any way, shape, or form. And then he just accidentally left that part in. And I'm somewhat justified in saying that because that it was like an accident because of this part right here.
Now, it turns out that's probably from Rebellion Pack's relationship with vendors like Digital Strategy Group, which received over $100,000 from the pack in 2024. Digital Strategy Group is owned by Eric Coates and Sam Jacobson. Digital Strategy Group is owned by Eric Coates and Sam Jacobson, who also own
Flubbed line! We have an outtake in the intake! We got an outtake in the intake, chat! Embarrassing, chat. My original theory about that being accidentally left in, I believe is true. Okay, let's rewind this. 1:11:32. I don't know how long this is supposed to. I forget to clip this.
First person. Before I move on, I need to talk about Chloe Segal. I want to be clear, I do not want to sensationalize Brianna's relationship to Chloe. But during this period, trans game developer Chloe Segal had a public falling out with Brianna, claiming that Brianna ruined her life and refused to help her. Chloe sadly ended up taking her life in DMs that would later be leaked. I think Brianna comes across as less than sympathetic in the midst of Chloe breaking down and pleading with her. Again, I want to be very clear here. I bring this up mostly so that there isn't 1,000 comments talking about this piece of internet lore and trying to blame it on Brianna. I think at the end of the day, Chloe was a deeply troubled person and didn't get the comfort and support all people should have when going through some really hard shit. And when people feel helpless and like there's nowhere else to turn, sometimes it can end very badly. And I also won't pretend to know what it's like to have someone you know do that and then spend the rest of your life wondering if there was more you could have done.
Okay,
I imagine that is what Brianna struggles with, and she doesn't need any other kind of invective to deal with around this particular issue if that's the case.
That's bullshit. In case you're wondering, Chloe Segal, and I agree with the opinion that Chloe Segal was not driven to by Brianna Wu. Chloe Segal was very, very abrasive to all people around him. He committed when he was made homeless because he pissed off his roommates so hard, they evicted him. I forget exactly what it was, but it was like Chloe Segal was like really nasty to people trying to support him. He systematically alienated a lot of his like friends over time before he died, and that's why he killed himself. And you know that's why he killed himself, because when he killed himself by setting himself on fire. And before he did so, he read a public statement in a park where people heard him, and the witnesses said that it was some diatribe about homelessness and mental health in the United States not being treated. So nothing to do with Brianna Wu, but yeah. Okay, 1:38:14. By the way, I've had somebody try to paint me as I did a person stream on Chloe Segal. And my outro music choice for that stream was Danny Brown. I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you fire to undo all you've learned. Fire. It was a good choice. It was very thematic, and the lyrics were actually pitch perfect. It could not have been a better song. And for some reason, I was called a bad person for this. I'm sorry that I have good taste. Actually, you know what? I'm not sorry for having good taste.
Opportunistic liar. Well, Brianna would try and save some face by saying the leaked photos were out of context and limply try and take some form of accountability once she's actually backed into a corner. This kind of mean girl gossip is a common occurrence with her. In other DMs like this,
I'm enjoying my content.
Other activists
You'll suffer
like
through it.
Alejandra Caraballo as toxic, citing everyone Brianna knows who's worked with.
Okay, this part is important. See, there's a reason why. I know it's but you have to suffer through it. Because watch, okay. So Brianna Wu is fighting with their allies. But let's take a look at, number one, Alejandro Caraballo is the embarrassing that got dumpstered in front of Congress. And then there's this one. So Brianna Wu is talking to someone about Aaron Reed. Aaron Reed is another volunteer with Liz Fong Jones. And you can even see this. This is glossed over, but this is why I think Keffals was involved, because Brianna says, I consider your friend, so I'll just say this. I support Alejandro, but he is widely considered toxic by everyone I know because he's a fat flubs everything he attempts to do. The last call I had with him, he was shitting all over another friend for reasons that seemed both stupid and petty. And then Keffals says he used to, I think this is Keffals, used to constantly beg me for retweets, LOL. And then Brianna says, Aaron is the least toxic of the Liz Fong Jones, Fong spelled incredibly wrong, club, but he's cut from the same cloth. So this is like a little peek into something I've never seen before. This is the crumbling of Drop Kiwi Farms, where suddenly the Liz Fong Jones clique of Alejandro Caraballo and Aaron Reed, and then you got Queen Keffals and Brianna Wu on the other side. Really just awesome. I never thought I would get to see little glimpses like this into the Untergang of
Alejandra Caraballo as toxic, citing everyone Brianna knows who's worked with her. In that same breath, she accuses Aaron Reed of being cut from a toxic cloth and says that a group she's part of lacks integrity. We saw earlier how she shit-talked Destiny, but that's not the only person she worked with.
A group. You mean in Kiwi Farms is the group that you're referring to, Zister. Okay. There's like 3 or 4 more things. Only a couple minutes left, I promise. 38:14. Wait, no, I already watched that one. 148:50.
Yes, it's the...
Okay, so that was like a frame from Brianna Wu does a podcast called like The Dollhouse or something, and it's him and 2 other that are like base conservatard Blair White, basically.
Gender activists advocating for their rights in healthcare, and not at all the pocket industry of conservatives dedicated to painting a target on a marginalized group, as the Democrats did literally nothing to stem the tide of hate. You're such a good political maverick, Brianna.
Oh, and I've had so many conversations with people. They don't like Trump, but they don't like the Democratic elitists.
A lot of this video is political. And I've actually, I've spared you some of the most political stuff. In particular, Brianna Wu, and I heard this completely by incident. I'll give you guys a reprieve from the video for a second. Because I got a request from Gabe Hoffman. Not really a request, he just sends me shit, hoping to slide it in. But now that I'm on the tangent, I guess I will show this. Brianna Wu has become an extraordinarily pro-Israeli person. I think I have 2 zeets here that I will show. So Brianna Wu says, I saw something awful in Jerusalem today. This is from April 30th, so I guess he's currently in Jerusalem, or in Israel. 2 Palestinian boys trying to stone a stray dog to death. The dog looked like it was starving to me. It shook me, and I refused to pretend I didn't see it happen just because it complicates somebody's political narratives. Then he says, to celebrate Israel's Independence Day, to set up a dance parties all along the Tel Aviv beach. I've been to 2 today, about to hit my 3rd. People are calling me home. My people are calling me home. I guess Brianna Wu now identifies as Jewish because he's from Kentucky. He's from like a good old boy Southern Kentucky family. He's not Jewish, but I guess we're now pretending that he's Jewish. So my congressional bid failed, so now I'm going to be the most ultra Jewish person that I can possibly be. But a lot of this video that I've been showing you is just like pure slop in regards to the Palestine conflict, and it's just like I don't give a and actually nobody gives a
faith arguments or based in reality. Effectively, she is re-gifting to her audience the same framework that is actively being used against people like her, except she's trying to cinch the frame a little tighter so she's not in the picture. The reality, again, very evident to most people in marginalized communities, is that Kamala and Biden left those marginalized communities out in the cold in the 2024 campaign. Another reason Brianna can't talk about the real reasons Kamala failed is that Kamala supported the overwhelmingly unpopular ongoing genocide in Gaza, something Brianna bloodthirstily supports.
Okay, so his political takedown of this is that Brianna Wu's political opinions are that A, the Democrats did not support enough, and that B, the Democrats supported Israel. Well, number one, you're never going to get a party in the United States that is elected that does not support Israel, so you can stop crying about that. Trust me, the heckin' chuds have been crying about that for a long-ass time, and even they can't get that done. And then the other one is completely untrue, but untrue in a way that makes me so extraordinarily happy. Like, this guy truly honestly believes that there is so much popular support for right now that if the Democrats just double, triple down on harder, they will surely win in the midterms and the next presidential election. So I support this guy and his hot political takes a million times. We need more of that. Let's go. Let's go. Trans sisters. We need to canvass more. We need to talk to our elected politicians and let them know just how important defending trans rights is.
The various podcast episodes that some might find vaguely strange, like when she talks about being in a medically induced ketamine hole, and that led her on a spirit journey where she was told she'd never be a woman.
That way of doing your line, I just realized is very iDubbbz inspired. Like, if you ever watched like a content cop before he lost his mind, that's how he would do his videos, where he would just become certainly like really uncertain about what he's saying as like a joke. That's definitely like iDubbbz inspired.
So apparently her inner woman is transphobic.
And it really changed my personality. It's not a mistake that a lot of the arc I'm on right now is after I did that, because it did make me feel very fearless about what I want to do. But one of the things that clinical ketamine does is you're sitting there and tripping and you're going into the K-hole, as I call it, and you really feel yourself stripped away. All these stories about yourself that you tell, all of it just gets taken apart one by one, and you're just staring there at the core of yourself. And this is so dark, but it's also really beautiful. That what I found at the core of myself repeatedly when I did that was this desire to be a woman. Like, that fundamental thing that I want and cannot have, that's the essence of what I am. And I think that leads to a melancholy and a pain that never leaves me ever. And, as I've come to this realization that transitioning early would not have cured that. Do y'all feel that too? This pain inside of you of always wanting to be something that you can never become?
Somehow that actually makes a lot of sense for Brianna. Of all the insane claims Brianna has made, this is the one I actually have no problem believing. Another very telling incident was on
Brianna Wu's internal K-hole demon. Says, "You will never be a woman." And to top this off, I have one final thing that me and this person in front of you that you're watching, we can finally, fully, and totally agree on something 100%. Let's wrap it off with a positive poly note, chat.
Civil War. There's her appearance on Trigonometry, which is apparently a real name people chose to represent themselves and the brand they live by. Trigonometry is apparently a podcast hosted by British Ozempic Ben Shapiro and a horse what they done put a wig and glasses on. I realize I try to go by a rule not to insult people based on their appearances, but that is unfortunately superseded by my other main rule, no mercy for the British.
Base! Let's go! American supremacy! The Angloids! Even the are signing up to the army to drop parachute down on London and open fire. Suffer. Our good friend Keffals. Keffals posted this video the last time he streamed over a week ago.
I think I'm gonna call it now. Come back to the stream when I have enough cables that I actually have a full setup. Glad everything's working now and I can start streaming again. I'll probably start streaming later in the days, because I think that makes more sense now that I'm back in North America. Oh, God.
Riveting content,
Okay,
Keffals.
nap time. Goodbye. How to end stream? I guess I just press button. Goodbye. I'll probably be back tomorrow.
My power went out again. Thought I had lost those. Okay, so I left off at Keffals. The only thing that happened with Keffals, he said he was going to stream, he did not. And then some guy that was Keffals' friend during Drop Kiwi Farms joined the forum to like dump conversation logs. So look at how bad that picture is of Keffals. It's so bad. So they're talking, and he says, I have no intention of coming on your show because I don't plan on talking about what happened publicly. Just, as I said, a man of character, I just want to let you know that consequences aren't just felt by other people. You have to live with what happened. I have no intention of talking to anybody about it. Just know I thought better of you, and I hope things can, you can get things together. So I think the context of this is that this person was pro Keffals at the beginning of Drop Kiwi Farms, and then after the go kick and go, whatever the was an obvious scam that he tried to say like, hey, you know, I look like a because I promoted you and I advertised people to give you money for the Kiwi Farms thing, and then he spent it all on drugs. Basically, this was the live Keffals reaction to that. He says, well, everything you said was a lie because you're getting info from bad sources. I'm sorry you've struggled. My conscience is clear, and if I win my legal cases, a win for everyone in London because it will force more police accountability. Oh, this guy's a communist, by the way. He was a part of the Communist Party of Canada, and that's how they were friends with each other. And then this guy says, blah, blah, blah. I'm not coming on the show. And he says, I'm not interested in relitigating old fights we had. And then he posted more about how my power went out again, about how it's all bullshit. And then Keffals says, so true, bestie. Glad you are doing well and having hobbies. Do you like sausage rolls? They're so good. How come they never became popular in Canada? The person is like, hey, you know, you kind of f***ing over and made me look like a dipshit and humiliated the Canadian Communist Party and you undermined all of our efforts and, you know, that's kind of shitty of you. And it's just like, how about a sausage roll then? Would you like a sausage roll? And it's just like, yeah. Yep, that's that Queen Keffals that we've all come to know and love, chat. Excellent. Really just excellent. Oh, Keffals is even sending him pictures of the sausage rolls. Beautiful. Lovely. However, he should know that when someone asks if you would like a sausage roll, you immediately are thereafter.